Rule number 1. Search out the kind of work that you would gladly do for free, and then get somebody to pay you for it. Don't expect this to happen overnight. It took me nearly 20 years to get people to pay me a living wage for my writing, which makes me, even at this juncture, one of the fortunate few. Your work should be something that satisfies, excites, and rewards you, something that gives your life meaning and direction, that stays fresh and new and challenging, a task you'll never quite master that will never be completed. It should be the kind of work that constantly humbles you, that never allows you to become smug. In short, work that sustains you instead of just paying your bills. While you search for this work, you'll need a job. For me, that job was teaching, and it's a fine thing to be good at your job as long as you don't confuse it with your work, which is hard not to do.
Okay, so let's get into this speech right now. He starts off by saying, rule number 1, search out the kind of work that you would gladly do for free and then get somebody to pay you for it.
Well, that's pretty idealistic. Don't expect this to happen overnight. It took me nearly 20 years to get people to pay me a living wage for my writing, which makes me, even at this juncture, one of the fortunate few. Okay, so he's a professor, but he has a passion for writing. And so he says it took him 20 years to get people to pay me a living wage. What is a living wage? I know what a wage is.
Yeah, so a living wage basically just means enough money to survive. So enough money to get by. Of course, this is going to be dependent on every person and, whether you're single or whether you have family, what your expenses are, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's basically just enough to get by, just enough to survive.
Okay. And he says, which makes me, even at this juncture, one of the fortunate few. Okay, Juncture. Juncture.
Yeah, so a juncture is essentially where two things come together. Or in this particular case, it means a point in time. So he's saying that in this point in my life, I'm one of the few people who's actually able to say that they enjoy what they do and they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
So it could be a juncture like in a road you're driving along and there's an intersection, and we can refer to that intersection as a juncture. Or you can refer to something as like a juncture in your career, where you have two choices. You can continue what you're doing or you can try something new. And so there's that juncture in your life. But yeah, basically it's where two things meet or where two things are combined or just a certain point.
I was thinking about most couples, if they've been dating a long time, they come to this sort of juncture where they have to decide, well, is it going to get more serious or are we going to break up? Like, are we going to get married or break up? It always seems to come down to that.
Yeah, it comes to that crucial juncture. Just the other day, my wife was saying to me, she was saying, if it weren't for these dogs, we'd be divorced already. And I said, and we're sort of at that juncture. And I said, you know what? If it weren't for these dogs,
we would be fine.
We because of these dogs, we've already almost become divorced like 7 times. So it's like you can't live with them, you can't live without them.
That's how it is. That's married life. So I wanted to ask you back to the expression living wage, Brian. He said, search out for work that you would do for free and then somebody pay you for it. What kind of work would that be for you?
For me?
Yeah. What is it that you would do for free but would love to have someone pay you for it? It's a hard question.
Sleeping 15 hours a day and then waking up and then playing with my dogs and then watching TV and then playing with my dogs some more and then going to sleep.
Okay, no one's going to pay for you. Moving on.
So if somebody would pay me for that, I am available. I would leave this show like that if somebody offered to pay me to do that.
Yeah, but the problem is no one is going to offer you to pay you to do that.
Well, you'd think maybe
you're stuck.
Some really rich, eccentric, basically crazy person who's like, I wish I could just give some money away to somebody who wants to sleep a lot and play with their dogs and watch TV.
Or how about like a dog sitting?
No.
No, okay, never mind. Okay.
No.
Moving on. Your work should be something that satisfies, excites, and rewards you. Something that gives your life meaning and direction, that stays fresh and new and challenging. Okay, I'm going to stop there because it's a long sentence. So he says, find something that gives your life meaning. Give something meaning.
Yeah, if you give something meaning, it basically means that you are creating some sort of significance. So this meaning here, oftentimes we talk about words and their definitions, and you'll say, well, what's the meaning of this word?
Right.
But in this case, the meaning just refers to some sort of a purpose, a significance. And so it talks about, people get to that juncture in their lives. They turn like 40, 50 years old, and they start to wonder, as and you look for meaning in your life. You look for what's the meaning of my life, and hopefully you find it.
This is exactly where I'm at right now. Yeah, I'm at this juncture. Like, I'm raising my kid. I'm doing everything that I can. I'm like, feeding my husband, and I'm like, what is the meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this it?
Is this all?
Is this what life is all about?
All right, pretty deep stuff. Okay, give meaning. So he's saying find something that gives you some sort of purpose. Okay. And then he says, find a task you'll never quite master that will never be completed. Then
he says it should be the kind of work that constantly humbles you, that never allows you to become smug.
Okay, let's stop right there. Okay, so now you got to find a certain kind of work, and it should be a kind of work that you can never be completely a master over, and that will never allow you to be smug, S-M-U-G.
Yeah, so basically he's saying find something that really challenges you, something that's not easy, that you complete at some point, but something that you're always working at getting better. He's saying something that doesn't let you become smug.
Yeah.
Now, the word smug basically means to be cocky, to be to be full of yourself, to be self-satisfied. Oftentimes, it annoys people because if you see someone who's really smug, somebody who's just really pleased with themselves all the time, it's annoying.
So someone who's definitely overly confident.
Here's a great example of someone who's really smug.
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Because and he in every speech and every public appearance, he's like, believe me, let me tell you, nobody can deal with ISIS better than me. Nobody knows the economy better than me. I can build the best wall in the world. Nobody builds walls better than me. This is like,
hello,
like 90% of what he says is, believe me, nobody does something better than me.
Yeah.
And so, but he's very smug.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of terrible that he's that way, but that's a good example, a perfect example of that.
Yeah, he's very, very, very confident.
Yeah. So, and he's saying, don't be smug. And he says, in short, work that sustains you instead of just paying your bills. That's interesting. So in short, and we see this a lot in writing too.
Yeah.
In short.
Yeah. So when you say in short, it's usually followed by something, and it's followed by an abbreviation. So it's followed by a shortened version of something you want to say. So it's like saying, well, briefly, maybe you're at a meeting and there's this big complicated story about what happened with some business deal. And your boss says, well, in short, the deal fell through. Now, there are all kinds of stuff that led up to that and all sorts of things that happened after that. But he's just giving you, he's just paraphrasing it. He's giving you a summary, and he's saying, in short, whatever.
It's just like a really brief summary. Okay, so, and that is work. You need to find work that sustains you instead of just paying your bills. Okay, so what is the difference here? Work that sustains you, because we work to pay the bills.
Yeah, to sustain something basically means to keep it going, to let it continue on. And so when you say to sustain yourself, though, he's not talking about necessarily money and food and that kind of stuff, but he means like emotionally and intellectually, something that keeps you going.
Yeah.
So a lot of people work in jobs that honestly they don't like, they're not really interested in, but it pays the bills.
Right.
And for a lot of people, even that is something to be thankful for. But what he's saying, what this author Richard Russo is saying, is that we should strive to do something that we enjoy, something that keeps us emotionally involved and intellectually challenged. Hopefully for our whole careers.
Well, it's interesting because the trend these days, it seems that a lot of people have taken this sort of advice and have just for the hobby, just for the passion of something, gotten into it and eventually one by one, it's become like a career for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of important. Maybe there's something that we're good at or we want to do that we can start with.
And I think that this is something that's been sort of very much a part of the American mindset for many years now, and is starting now to become more prevalent here in Korea, which I'm sure is driving Korean parents crazy.
Right.
Because Korea, up until recently, it's been the sort of situation where you get a job that provides for yourself and your family, and that's the goal in life. And so now that there's a little bit more yeolyu in Korean society, people are wanting to do stuff that sustains them, stuff that they enjoy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's neither here nor there.
All right.
So why don't we take a listen to the dialogue one more time, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Rule number 1. Search out the kind of work that you would gladly do for free, and then get somebody to pay you for it. Don't expect this to happen overnight. It took me nearly 20 years to get people to pay me a living wage for my writing, which makes me, even at this juncture, one of the fortunate few. Your work should be something that satisfies, excites, and rewards you, something that gives your life meaning and direction, that stays fresh and new and challenging, a task you'll never quite master, that will never be completed. It should be the kind of work that constantly humbles you, that never allows you to become smug. In short, work that sustains you instead of just paying your bills. While you search for this work, you'll need a job. For me, that job was teaching, and it's a fine thing to be good at your job as long as you don't confuse it with your work, which is hard not to do.
Okay, now it's time for us to take note.
All right, living wage.
Yeah, this is enough money to survive, enough money to get by. The size of a living wage depends very much on where and how you live.
Okay, juncture.
A juncture is a specific or important point in time or some place where two things meet.
Okay, how about this? Our relationship is at a critical juncture. She wants kids and I don't. I actually know, I have a friend who's in this exact position right now. Okay, give something meaning.
Yeah, if you give something meaning, it basically you give it some sort of significance, some sort of importance. A good novelist not only describes events, but gives them meaning.
Okay, smug.
Smug means very self-satisfied, someone who is very cocky and maybe overly confident.
Okay, Betty gets a smug look on her face when she's playing cards against Helen. And probably because Betty is very good at playing cards. In short
just means briefly, or to summarize things. I studied biology, chemistry, physics. In short, a lot of science.
Okay, sustain.
This means to let something continue, to allow it to go on. My mom always sends me treats from home to sustain me while I'm away. Okay, and yesterday we had a quiz question. Of course, we were talking about what day yesterday was. Of course, the answer is Halloween.
Okay, and the quiz question for today is this. We learned a word that means to be overly confident. And what is that word? Number 1, smug, or number 2, bug.
Smug or bug?
Yeah.
Now, believe me, I know better than anyone else about bugs. Believe me.
Yes.
Okay, so if you know the answer, go to our homepage, put it up in the quiz answer folder, and you might win yourself a nice